Buonasera e bentornati su London One. Non manca questo giovedì un'altra puntata di servizio pubblico e lo faremo con un ospite molto importante. Stiamo parlando di Tony Sophoclides direttamente dal UK Hospitality, il trade body che regola tutto il settore dell'ospitalità in Gran Bretagna, che si trova adesso in crisi economica. Pensate che ci sono delle previsioni in merito a pub e altre venue che potrebbero addirittura chiudere durante l'inverno a causa dell'aumento delle bollette e non solo. So Tony, thank you and welcome back to London One Radio. Can you please just underline at the beginning of this our conversation what are the main concerns and challenges that the UK hospitality is facing right now?
Well, unfortunately, I must report that there are many of them. We thought until recent weeks that it was the most acute among those was staff shortages, and they still certainly blight the industry. They do mean that a sector which is trying to recover from the debts that were amassed when we weren't allowed to trade during the pandemic. We thought we'd be making those up now, but we simply can't because of staff shortages. So we're reducing trading hours. But of course, the other one that has become absolutely huge is, unsurprisingly, energy prices. And we have, as you know, at the moment, a sort of caretaker government, whilst the leadership contenders for Prime Minister slug it out. And so there's been very little action to help our businesses.
Ecco, quello che ha detto Tony è, prima di tutto ce ne sono diverse di challenges. La prima è la manodopera che manca, la seconda invece è l'aumento delle bollette. Il governo sta facendo veramente poco per aiutare i business, ma vorremmo anche chiedere se la manodopera dipende dalla Brexit, because many of experts but also citizens are saying that the Brexit was the major cause of the shortages, so workers in this sector. Is the Brexit the cause of this, of the shortages?
Certainly one of a small number of factors was Brexit, but it's very difficult to know quite yet how big a factor it was, because I think that probably the biggest driver was the fact that people who are working in our sector, whether they were British or from overseas, came to feel, because of the stop-start nature of lockdown and then restrictions and then open trading and then lockdown again, that the sector wasn't a secure one in which to be employed, and that it was vulnerable to, further lockdowns and therefore having to try and seek other work. And so people found work in other sectors, and then obviously, once they were settled in those jobs, didn't come back. And that applies to British people, but also to those workers from the EU or in fact the rest of the world, except for with the added factor of they'd gone back to a different country, joined their families and had settled there, perhaps still in hospitality, but perhaps in other sectors as well. So Brexit, yes, in short, is a factor, but it's one of a few.
You know what I recognized, anyway, not in the UK hospitality sector, but in other type of job sector, what they are saying, it's the condition of the jobs, the type of jobs that they are doing is very stressful, and the workers ended up in any cases of burnout. I don't know if the same in the UK hospitality.
Well, I think that's partly why we've got the staffing shortage that we have, and why, as a result, some venues, hospitality venues, are having to restrict their trading hours, because frankly, we need to retain the workers that we have. So we have to avoid burnout. And the only way of doing that is to restrict the days or the hours that we're working, because we really must, it's absolutely vital that we retain the staff that we have. So I think and I hope that in most cases people aren't being worked to the bone. Hospitality workforce have always been very, hard workers anyway, but I hope that they're not going to be burned out now.
Right. Energy bills. Some of the experts started to accuse Boris Johnson about this kind of decision of not doing anything until the next prime minister comes and start to, anyway, lead the entire nation. Do you think that the government with Boris Johnson during this time could have done something to help the businesses?
Well, my personal feeling is absolutely that action is overdue. I would like to know if this is not being considered as an urgent or an emergency situation for businesses by government, exactly why they think it is not. Certainly the government and the leadership contenders seem very happy to be talking about how to ease the pain for households, which of course is very welcome. But why that doesn't extend to the business community as well, I'm simply at a loss to know.
Right. Tony, also, what do you think the government should do once we know on the 5th of September who's going to be the next prime minister? What are the commitments that the government should focus on?
My main answer is any type of action would be very welcome. But there are several ways, really. I mean, I think you could go from the most extreme ones and therefore less likely, which is a commercial energy price cap, which of course would be very impactful for the energy companies themselves. But that's been thrown about as a sort of extreme option. But any sort of reliefs, and they could come through national insurance, it could come through returning to a lower rate of VAT for the sector. I think people have talked about a lower rate of VAT on energy. Actually, most companies in our industry would be able to claim that back anyway, so it wouldn't make a massive difference, although it would help cash flow. Or there could be something just as simple as the sort of grants that we saw during the pandemic.
You, as the UK Hospitality trade body, what are you doing to help these companies?
Well, we feel somewhat helpless at times. We are helping different businesses to share the experiences of how they are coping with it. That might be best practice in order to cut energy costs, or it could be how they are going about finding new contracts and which energy brokers are working for them. But really, we are spending most of our time trying to sort of use a battering ram to get through to government and make sure that we get some action as soon as possible, if not before the new Prime Minister is in place, then immediately afterwards, but preferably beforehand.
Before concluding our live conversation, Tony, I would like to ask you, do you think that this period of time that we are experiencing, is it worse than the one that we experienced in the past during COVID?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think in many ways it probably is, yes, because we did have fast action and a fair amount of governmental support, financial support from the government during COVID. I understand that finances aren't, they are finite, but I think we probably did feel more supported then. And there was really one big issue. I think the problem with the environment for trading at the moment is that there are so many different factors in play. We've talked about energy and we've talked about employment, staff shortages, but there's still business rates are a massive imposition, an unfair one as well on the sector, and they are yet to be addressed. And I really could go on. There are so many different factors. So yes, this does feel, and of course, the other thing is this comes after the pandemic when all that damage has been done. So yes, it does feel worse.
Thank you very much, Tony Sophoclides, to explain to us what is happening with the UK hospitality sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you.